You wanted me to do some spoken word thing, some poetry thing.
Yeah, your poetry's lit, by the way. I haven't watched all of it, but from what I've seen so far, there's like, you know what it is, yeah? Not to make it bare spiritual and stuff, but I feel like
we could do that, bro. Man, just come back and do ayahuasca. We could do that. You know
come on, I love that. But there's like a soul. I can feel the soul in it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't just. It's not like shallow. It's not just. You know what I'm saying? So
I feel like sometimes that gets lost on the internet a little bit, though.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing I wanted to get into as well today. Yeah, because basically I watched the episode you've done with Hebs as well, and you spoke. I think a couple of times you mentioned like how we portray ourselves and how people receive us as well, innit? And it made me think about something, yeah, which is gonna lead. I'm gonna explain, and then it's gonna lead to the question, yeah. Is around, you know, like if you go to a place, you go to a building, and every single day there might be a different receptionist. We have a different experience, innit?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, of course.
So to some extent, it's like, obviously we are responsible for how we come in there, like what we wear or how we talk and whatever, but the person that's receiving us as well, they have a responsibility to how to receive us and shapes that experience.
Yeah.
So like, my question is like, what do you think, within that metaphor, what do you think is the best way to receive people in life? To
be open is the best way, and to not, and the reason why I could answer this so clearly is because I've read something about this. Yeah. There's a book I've read, one of my favourite books from Malcolm Gladwell, called Talking to Strangers. And the premise of the whole book is essentially you don't know shit about people. And you have to treat people like a blank slate and just get, obviously it's human nature to sort of assume things about people based on our experience. Like I might think to myself, you're like this because you remind me of this, why, and that person, but you're nothing like that person. So I have to treat you like with a blank, clean slate, but also understanding that you're a human being that's coming with your own past journeys, your own past happiness, your past sadness, your past everything that dictates the way you see the world, and in such dictates the way you see people. So the best way to do that is literally just to be blank. For me anyway, to be blank and not make any assumptions on people.
So it's kind of like becoming detached from the biasness sort of thing.
It's exactly that, bro. You said it in a nutshell. Detached from, because we all have unconscious biases. Like all of us, you know what I'm saying? And it's based on our environment and where we're from. Like you're from around here, so you might have a different unconscious bias of me than someone that's from Midlands or someone that's from Chiswick. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like we have to kind of kill that.
But you know what it is, yeah? I like what you're saying about it as well. But there's not many people who can like be aware of that they have a bias in first place.
Exactly.
It's kind of like, you know, it's that thing of like, do you think about your thinking? And it's like, and it's like realizing, yo, like actually, why am I thinking?
You know, it's funny because it's like, I don't know if you've heard about that story. Literally the other day, it was this week, it was all over the flipping news. That black lady that went to the Buckingham Palace. And that person was like, where you from? Where you really from? Da-da-da-da-da, leaning on her. Where you from? Da-da-da-da-da. That's unconscious bias, blood. Because you know what, I was having a conversation about it with someone yesterday, and I was like, blood, she's worked for the royal family nearly however many years, probably all her life. She's been in that circle, in that vibe. And the royal family, they're colonial powers. All they know is colonialism. Like if you're brown, they probably run the country you're from. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's why they're looking at you like you can't be from here because you don't look like you're from here, because we've seen the world. We used to run it. That these are unconscious biases that I don't think people kind of. Obviously, it's still bad what she said. It's still bad how she was treated. But in the same way, it's like
It's understandable. It's not to justify it. Like
that's exactly
understandable.
That.
It's like that's her experience, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. It's like when it comes to these situations, I was thinking to myself, obviously, like things like that and racism stuff like that is unacceptable. But you have to ask, how old is the person that's doing that? What? It doesn't make it any better, but bro, if you're a white person in your 70s and 80s and all you've known is a certain time and a certain period, like you're likely are going to be slightly racist or have some type of unconscious bias to you. You just have to accept that in the world. Do you know what I'm saying? No, it prompted me to make sure my things on the side. Like,
awareness. But yeah, do you know what the thing is? Yeah, like when it comes to like experiences and people being shaped by experiences. Yeah, my thing is like, cool, that's their experience, but is it adding value? And it's like, the thing is like, if it's not adding value, then...
But value to who though?
That's the thing, is obviously value is subjective. Aladdin loves saying value is subjective anyways, but value to them and value to other people. I think the best value or the best way of being selfish in life is when you gain something by being selfish, but other people gain at the same time.
Yeah, I hear that. That's true. But that's why I said it's value to who? Because I might be providing something that I think is value, and you might think it's a piece of shit, or it means nothing to you. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It's I think for me, it kind of comes from the idea of how do you want people to feel in your presence and in your energy. And you can't always control how people feel. Like I could be the nicest person in the world and someone's still going to think I'm an arsehole. That's just how it goes. And so I don't know, especially lately I've been more conscious of just trying to not even be a decent person, because I think I'm a decent person anyway, but just making sure I'm putting that type of energy out in the people that I'm with. Up until it gets to the point where I'm compromising who I really am. Do you get what I'm saying? But it's these type of things are what's important to me. Like how people, not how people receiving me, but what type of energy are people getting? What type of energy am I giving off? You know? I think that's when you get a bit more worldly. But bro, again, I've just come back from Peru, Manchester, and ayahuasca. I went to the whole realm. It was a different thing. So
you know what? Tell me about it, because I've never done anything like that before, and I heard that the experience.
Ayahuasca was
you know what it is. Even though obviously you can try and describe it, it's just I think it's one of those where until people do it and experience it their own way, I think it's probably
what I'm gonna say is you got to be ready for it. If you're gonna do it, when people say, "Oh, you got to be ready for it," I was just like, "What do you mean? Nah, just whatever it is, what it is."
What would you say, like? What was the outcome for you from that experience? Like, what made
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah,
which is the. But
I can. You know what it is? I can feel the end. I can see there's a little bit of like freshness of the experience.
Is it?
And
yeah. It's still, bro. I was there like. I mean, I was only there last week. Do you know what I'm saying? I did feedback last week, but there's definitely a lot to figure out. I think what ayahuasca done is done two things, and the more I try to talk about it, the more I sort of break it down a bit more. One is it put certain questions that I had in myself. It made those questions a little bit more vivid. It could put them to a brighter light, I think. Yeah. And now they're a bit harder to ignore. So I must do, like for example, a question of like, you know, when it comes to my creativity and what I want to do, like what I want to put out in the world, what effort and energy I'm putting into certain things versus myself, for example. And I put that in quotes because not just myself as a being, but myself as in what I want to do. Those questions became more apparent and harder to ignore. But also I think it started a journey for me. I think I always say to people like I'd lost part of myself in Peru and in those mountains, but I also found a big part of myself, and it started a whole new journey for me where it's like now I've got a whole bunch of new things to figure out. But it's a crazy thing though, bro. It takes you on highs, it takes you in lows, it takes you places where it's like, bro, I don't really want to be here, bro. I don't want to experience this shit. But it's crazy. It's crazy.
Man, that sounds deep, man. How'd you get your name, by the way?
Louis the Hippie.
Yeah.
You know,
when someone starts laughing on questions like that, you know it's gonna be good.
So at first, I wanted to make a creative agency, and I kind of did, called House of Hippies, which I still have. And I'll be pushing a lot more. But I think the hippie vibe came because I sort of done a complete 180 of my life. I always say one of my friends saved my life because he was the one that said, "Oh, we should go uni." And I was an ongoing uni, like I was doing the gang thing. I was like, bro, like I'm just. It's not like I was stupid, bro. I'm quite academic. Do you get what I'm saying? So for me to not go uni now, thinking about it would be like the most insane. I didn't finish it, but it would have been the most insane thing for me not to have done. But that's just me personally. It didn't. Obviously, I didn't finish it, so it probably wasn't the best option. But it was a good option because it took me out of an environment that I was in and put me into a different environment. Like for example,
you broke the pattern.
100%. It broke a pattern, and I was able to just find peace in just walking on the street without having a bar on me, for example. Do you know what I'm saying? Just seeing them and not thinking, are any of them ops? Like that type.
That's a big shift, man.
Bro, it's the type of peace of mind, it's a freedom of mind that I can't really explain to people unless you literally come out of that environment for a little bit and you open your eyes and you realize, wow, the streets aren't normal. It's normal to me, but it's not how normal people live. And understanding that gave me a new sense of peace, a new sense of freedom, and I suppose that's where the hippie thing came into it. Plus I started smoking weed as well. I started smoking weed late in my life. I was like 21 when I first started, brother.
That's unusual. Usually everyone starts early, man. I tried a couple times, didn't really work for me. But
But it was like, I think that I was going through that whole era as well, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm a hippie, man. Because I just had a complete change of mindset, bro. Like there's some people now, especially at a period, and even now looking back, there's some people that look at me and think, wow, like bro, you've changed. Like I can't be like happy for me, but I can't believe that you've made this transformation, because what I was doing before was.
Do you know what? Would you say like I can kind of relate to that to some extent, obviously with my own experience and stuff. But I think for me, I just felt like I became more of myself. And I look back at the other person I used to be like, was that really me? Like that wasn't really me. So I felt like over time, I just became myself. Like, do you feel like you became yourself, or do you feel like? Yes
and no. At times, I still feel like I am that guy, bro. Like, and it's difficult. At times, I have to remind myself, you're not that type of person anymore. It's easy to, like, for example, it's easy for a friend to have a situation. You think, what? Blood, let's just go there and boom, boom. Yeah. It's like, bro, like, chill. Like,
but all of that stuff, it's all like learned, innit? It's like, it's kind of like, and I've got another question for you as well on that as well. But it's kind of like, it's part of it is being in a certain environment, right? And we're learning, we're watching other people do certain things. And it's like watching a movie. You know, when you watch a movie and it's like, you start.
Yeah, it definitely was. Thinking back of some of the things I used to do and things I've done, it does definitely feel like, because bro, I'm not gonna. Some of it would be a good film.
Like, bro, listen, if you grew up in Italy, would you be a different person?
100%.
Yeah, so the environment does have a part to play. You know, when people usually go like, oh, it's like they say, oh, you can make your own decisions, you can overcome anything you want.
No, that's disingenuous to the human experience.
Yeah, bro. That's what I'm saying. But I think it's a combination of both, innit? It's like there's an environment, and obviously like we know that plays a part, and there's also like, how can we empower ourselves to make better decisions to navigate that environment? You know,
I think this is something that people misunderstand, is the fact that in order to make a certain set of decisions, you need to have a certain foundation first, and from there your decision making, it accumulates. But if your foundations are completely shattered or it's different, your thought process is going to be different, so your decision making is going to be different. Our 1 + 1 = 2 is fine, but our 2s look different. Do you get what I'm saying? That's just fact. So, well, not even fact, it's perspective, which is what we're talking about. But I think people downplay that sometimes. It's a little too conservative to say, oh, well, you could just think this and da-da-da. I mean, yes, you can to a degree, but you have to have the setup first, you know?
Yeah, and it takes time to build that foundation. It's not it's not a one-night thing, and sometimes it's seeds are planted and it takes a little while to grow into and all of that stuff.
Exactly. It's I think a lot of people downplay how much childhood has an effect on us. You don't ever really grow up, like you do to a degree, but there's still things inside you that make you happy, that trigger you the same way it did when you were 7 years old or 6 years old or whatever.
I'm still figuring that shit out till this day.
I think it's a journey that everyone sort of continues to have. I would hate to feel like I've stopped trying to figure myself out. I think that's a little bit arrogant of me.
Yeah, but I think there's also that sometimes there's like a wall, and it's like parts of myself are over the wall. I just haven't broken that wall. You know, there might be like a little crack, and it's just like,
that's hard.
You know what I'm saying? Slowly.
What do you think's over that wall for you?
What I think is over the wall. I'm not sure yet. That's the thing, because I can't see it. But I know there's something there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know there's something there. I just don't know what it is yet.
That's purpose, though. That's you. That's whatever's above on the other end of that wall is purpose. And I think, I don't know, maybe you have your purpose, maybe you found it. I think purpose changes all the time. But I think it's a good thing to know that you have more to yourself, or there's more that you can give this world, and you just need to find it. I think that's a beautiful place to be in, because you become so inquisitive to things.
Yeah, man, I'm on a journey, and I think, you know what, I feel like it's not. Does it ever stop?
I wouldn't want it to. I wouldn't want to get to a point where I'm like, my journey's finished. Because the reason why as well, because it's like what you're saying, it's the environment. And as years go on, the environment changes all the time. So if you're not changing with the environment, then you're going to be left behind, bro. Whatever's not growing is dead. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah, man.
I think even with you, I don't want to get into all of that too much anyways, but even with you, for example, now that I think about it, obviously you were in a certain environment, right? But you could have made different decisions, and you could have been in a different place.
I could have, and I nearly did. Do you know what I'm saying? I nearly did. And again, it was my environment. It was people around me, or a particular person around me. I said, nah, bro, this is the second time you've been stabbed in your head. You need to stop. You're getting in beef every week. Like, I'm not a victim in it. As much as I say that, I'm not a victim in it. You know what I'm saying? But in the same speed, I was getting in beef like every single week. Some of them were little scrapes, some of them were a little bit more serious. And it's like, bro, shit needs to stop. And when I think about it, I was young. I was like, what, 18, 19? I already had friends that had died before that. I had friends that died after that. And it was just like, But I never thought of it like that. I just kind of thought like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I was never so sure of being on the roads as much as I was at that time, at that age. And I honestly, looking back at it now, but then it makes me understand kids of today. It makes me understand where they're at. And I think to myself, all these initiatives, it's like, oh, you know, get the kids off the streets, put the knife down, they're not hearing that, bro.
Yeah,
because you're not changing the environment. And that's a bigger question. I think sometimes we talk too much about these little initiatives and these little policies that we could put in place, but we don't talk about the social economic environment that people are in, that causes them to have a certain mindset that keeps them in a cage. Like, do you get what I'm saying?
I love the fact that you're getting into that, because that's what I was gonna.
But it's true. I can't tell a man to put the mash down, but he still lives on a block where 10 people have got mashes on them. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Bro, stop selling drugs. All your friends sell drugs though. Like, it takes a strong mind, no matter what age, whether you're 9, whether you're 19, whether you're 49, bro. It takes a strong mind to see what everyone's doing and saying, no, I'm going against that. I'm not doing that.
And that has to be a perspective shift, innit?
Of course.
And I think, like, I'm a believer of, like, conversation. And I think the only real way to make any change in the world is through conversation.
100%.
And at any level, it's like, you know, if you're talking about, you know, I know that corporate companies are fucked up anyways. They play with people's money and do all of this shit and then get bailed out and all of that nonsense anyways. But, like, I think even someone at that level, if they had a conversation with the right person and shifted the perspective, they could do a complete U-turn as well. You know what I'm saying? So I think it goes for every single level in life. It's just conversation. Like.
But, you know, it's true. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to therapy or anything like that.
If I've been, I have.
Is it? That's dope. See, I'm the guy. I would tell my friends to go to therapy, but I haven't been myself. Yeah, I would love to though, and I should do.
I've done 3 sessions, and that was it.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've done couples therapy, but I didn't do that. Yeah. I've done like 1 therapy session of myself, and I just didn't.
I've actually done it because my friend, very good friend of mine, he done it, and he was telling me how sick it was.
Is it?
I thought, you know what, because there's a couple things I was dealing with as well. I thought, you know what, let me just like try it, you know, because I think before that as well, like my perspective on it was like that if I'm doing therapy, I'm sort of like weak, but actually it's a sign of strength. It's like,
Why did you used to think that though? I always find it interesting.
I think I've learned that from other people. It's like, and what I've seen and observed in the world, it just seemed like it. Or maybe that's something I was projecting out there, or that's something that I thought, but I've completely like had a U-turn on how I perceive it, man.
I always find it interesting when people say stuff like, oh, you know, therapy and talking is weak. Like, I get why people may come to that conclusion. Yeah. But I always think to myself, bro, you've never had a good conversation with somebody. Sometimes that feeling afterwards, even though you might feel a little bit vulnerable, sometimes getting that insight is the most powerful feeling in the world, brother. It could really charge you and think, you know what, boom. Like, I've had some real vulnerable conversations with friends that have just completely shifted my day, my week, or just what I've done. Like, I can remember a few conversations or a few moments that I've had where I've been vulnerable that has shaped what I do for the next couple of weeks, months, whatever. So I think we're missing a trick there.
Yeah, I think, and like I said, I think I've learned that. I don't think that's a perspective I've had. Like, oh, that was within me, like internally. It's just something that I picked up while going through what, and I was like, you know, actually, then I started questioning myself, like, why do I feel like that? And I think doing like more work with young men as well. I do this thing called Man Talk, and I run like sessions with young men where we talk about what's it like being a man, and you know, the biggest misconceptions of being a man, and we talk about all of these different things, which is obviously it touches on the mental health aspects and all these other different things. But after having that space, I've realized that there's a need for that. And I've realized that there's a big like misconception on, you know, if men can talk and if they can't. And the highlight so far for me from running those sessions as well, like every single person in there said, I've never had access to a space like this.
You know, so mad. It's people have this, especially men, we have this misconception of, well, if I talk, what's that going to do? Because no one's going to come and solve my problems. But it's like, you think to yourself, sometimes talking isn't about someone coming to solve your problems, and that's a man thing. We're so solution based. That's why sometimes we're not the greatest speakers when it comes to, we're not the greatest people to open up to when it comes to women, because we give women solutions and sometimes they don't want solutions. But when we kind of move away from that solution based way of thinking, and you realize that talking sometimes isn't about someone giving you the solution, it's about you freeing your mind or opening your mind and releasing the burden to then find solutions or different ways for yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? Someone might come around.
I like the way your mind works, man.
It's a thing, I appreciate it. But bro, it's because I love what you're doing. Like I understand. Like I get the whole, well, if I sit down and tell you this, that, and the first gun in my life, you don't have the answers. I get that. But that burden coming off me, all of a sudden, it's like for example, I was having a conversation with a friend who was going through some shit. And it was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm going through this, that, and the third, and da, da, da. And him opened up to me, was like, you know what, bro, I feel you, because man's gone through the same thing, and da, da, da. All of a sudden, we've connected in a different way. We're really good friends, but we've connected in a different way. And all of a sudden, I'm kind of, he's telling me about what he's going through. I was obviously being there for him, not pushing my thing onto him too much, but in the same way saying, bro, you know what, when I was in this sort of space, this is what helped me, and I know that there's an end to it because I've been through it. And all of a sudden he was then finding solutions for himself that works for him. And it's like, that's what the conversation done, bro. It's they're tools, they're not just hammers, they're different types of tools. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, man. But
with the freeing up the mind thing, I think you're definitely right, man. And I think there's different ways of doing it. Sometimes some people journal as well. Some people write, and it's just there's something about metaphorically leaving, like, you know, like if we're saying it out loud or we're writing it down, it's just that thing leaving our head, sort of in like a kind of like I don't even know, like spiritual sort of way, or
it's a bit. I always find that whatever we hold on to is an energy, and trauma gets trapped in our body. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, like if you're feeling a way about something, you can see the stress on someone's face. You could see it in the way they walk. You could see how they have their shoulders, like their muscles are tense. Like we carry this shit. Same as happiness relaxes us and it loosens us. You could see a happy person, and people aren't aware sometimes of what they're physically holding. I always say to people, like, if you're walking around and you feel a bit stressed, unclench your jaw, put your shoulders down, and take more breaths. All of a sudden, you don't even realise that your jaw's been clenched for 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? You don't realise your shoulder's been like that. And it's like, no wonder why you're always on go, bro. Every single fucking muscle in your torso is like that. Do you know what I'm saying? You're ready to go. You get me? But just
tense, like
just untense yourself a little bit, put some air in your body, and all of a sudden your problems aren't gonna go away, but the way you feel about them for that moment, you might just feel a little bit better. Do you know what I'm saying?
At least we can navigate the problems in a different way. It's like my thing is this, it's like if I'm going through something, and by the way, I'm not, you know, everyone's different, so I'm not saying people can't be sad or can't be happy, whatever it is, but for me it's just like, if I'm going through something, there's no point me being like feeling a type of way about it when I can kind of like be, you know what, I can glide through with happiness. You know what I'm trying to say? Because the outcome is not gonna change. You know, like I'm talking about things where
of course. You know
what I'm saying? So it's like, what's the point of like me feeling in a certain way that's not serving me? If I can feel in it, you know what I'm saying? If I can choose to feel different.
It's funny you say that, because I was having like a little, it was an argument with somebody that was really close to me. And one of the things that they were doing, every time a situation comes up, they always think of the worst, not the worst scenario, but they put themselves in the worst light. So it's almost, they weren't aware that they were doing it. So let's say, for example, you walk into a room somewhere and you forget to say hello to someone. Someone think, oh, why did he forget to say hello? Does he not like me? Does he, da-da-da-da-da? Like, but you're putting yourself in that. Why are you talking so low about yourself? Maybe I didn't see you. Do you get what I'm saying? But because you think this way about yourself, you're now thinking everyone else does.
And they're attaching the narrative to
exactly. And it's like,
what's going on.
It's like, that's not how it needs to be, bro. Like, think better about yourself, and then you might feel like you're having better experiences with other people. Well, some people are always going to be arseholes, don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's not so personal, you know? You don't know what that person's going through, and that doesn't excuse it, but we always internalize things. I used to be one to always internalize shit. Every time someone treats me like an arsehole, I think, what, they think I'm a... And that part of that is from the streets, you know what I'm saying? But then another part of that is just me being sensitive as fuck, so... Yeah,
and the thing that comes with like multiple different things, right? There has to be a level of resilience that you build around it. There has to be a level of like maybe feeling secure about ourselves. I feel like there's a bunch of different elements that would come into that anyways, but I feel like you're right. Like I say maybe the last 2-3 years, like I got to the point where I was just like, and people usually take it out of the context, like I got to the point where I just don't give a fuck what people think. But I mean in like an empowering sort of good way. It's just like, and I've got a level of resilience, and like situations that used to take me like a week or 2 weeks to get over, it's like 10 minutes now. You know what I'm saying? Just 10 minutes, I moved on already. It's like, cool, I look like an idiot or something happened, whatever, I moved on already.
But what do you think you did, or what changed for you to have that type of resilience?
You know what, it's going back to that thing that we spoke about earlier, which is around, it takes time to make that change. So what I did to make that change is I became aware of it, and I just kept practicing. It's just like building the muscle, and it just kept, it's like going gym. It's like I kept gymming it. And the more I've done it, the more aware of it I was over time. I got to a point where it's just actually now it's become easier. So it's like, it's the thing, the more I've done something, it became easier, innit? I'm not perfect, innit? It's just everyone's different. And
no, but that's a good analogy. It is that, Jim. You have to sort of coach yourself through it, and you have to put them reps in, boy. You know what I'm saying? You got to put them reps in, B. A lot of people don't. But again, it's the foundation. You obviously have something in you where it was like, I recognize I need to change something in me. And what is it? And then you identified it, and it's a work in progress. Like I said, I would hate to think that I'm my complete person, especially at 33, bruv. I wouldn't live till I'm 78.
Your life just started.
Exactly. I'll say to people, the oldest I ever felt was 28 and 29.
Man, I can't even imagine the version of you when you're 60, bro. It's like,
oh, bro.
Listen, the wisdom people gonna get from you is gonna be life changing.
Long dreads, grey ting.
Yeah, bro.
Might have a gold tooth by them times, blood. I don't know.
It's gonna be lit, man.
I'm just gonna be burning incense everywhere I go. That's gonna be my thing.
It's gonna be lit.
Yeah.
No, trust me. Hey, if you was to write a book, and put three most important things that you've learned in your life so far, what would they be?
Fucking hell. Oh, three most important things. First of all, people don't give a shit as much as you think they do. That'll be like the main thing. And that's something I'm still processing, but people don't give a shit about you the way you think you do. And that's a good way and that's a bad way. In a sense where as a creative, you seem to think that everything you put out has to be the best because everyone's gonna look at it and think you're an idiot if not. And most of the time people don't give a shit about your work, which gives you freedom to just put out work and be your authentic self, because the people who do care a lot, and the people who don't care. So you're not really catering to them anyway. That two, don't take things so personally. Don't internalize so much things. I think that was an important thing for me.
Do you know what? Just on that one as well, yeah. My thing is this, and you know how I realized that people don't give a shit that much, yeah. Like, you know when someone does something stupid, like I might look at it and that was stupid, and I'd move on in like 10 seconds, right?
Done.
But when I'd do something stupid, or before when I used to do something stupid, I used to think that these lot are paying so much attention to it, and it was all in my head.
Nobody cares, bro.
All in my head, nobody cares.
It's a trip on the ground. You walk around, you walk down the street, you trip over, you might laugh, that person tripped, and then 2-3 seconds later, you're back to what you was there.
Yeah.
That person is thinking, bro, I just tripped in front of all these people.
Did you all saw me trip?
They don't care, bruv. They don't care. People only care when you impact them. If you tripped in front of them and punched them in the face while doing so, then, they might give a shit. But generally speaking, they don't.
Yeah.
But I just think that's an empowering thing, though. You know what I'm saying? I think my last one, there was don't take things so personally, don't internalize so much. And the third one's probably you're good enough. I think that's something I can't say I struggle with it as much as I used to. I'll probably still have, like things that reminiscence of it. But definitely those three things are probably the ones I'll put in a book off the top of my head.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's lit,
the you being good enough one was something I had to, it was a mantra almost. It was something I had to say repeatedly and believe. And I believe it in some aspects. In other aspects, I still have to question it. But then I just remind myself, like, yo, bro, you're the shit, man. You doing out here, man, acting whack, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Put some respect on your name, man.
Yeah, bro, like put some respect on your name. But then also it comes, it's so funny you say that. I just came up from a shoot, hence why I look like drained and tired. So,
my man's like yawning. Don't worry, man. It's all good, man. At least I'm just happy to have you here, man.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here, bro. But I've just come up from a shoot. And one of the motivations for the shoot, when I was waking up, and I was saying this to myself as well, I always have like them self-talks in my head. And to myself out loud sometimes. But it's like, you need to do things sometimes especially as a creative, but just in general, where you're in charge and no one can tell you you're doing something right or wrong, because you're the one that says whether you're doing it right or wrong. And that's how you end up trusting your judgment on things, because if you keep doing things that you believe are right and it so happens to turn out right, your shut the fuck up bro becomes a little bit louder in certain rooms, because it's like, yo, I've proved myself to me, dog. You know what I'm saying? You might think this and you might think that about that and about that. That's fine. That's a different world. But I've proved myself to me. So you can't tell me I'm not good enough, because I know I am. I've done it. You know what I'm saying? When I'm trying to do, like, and sometimes you need to do your own thing to sort of have that mentality of, yeah, I can do it. And I always encourage people to just take on projects. It's not even, it doesn't even have to be big projects, but just little things where you accomplish stuff. Accomplishment is so important to the human psyche. Do you know what I'm saying?
Even like the little...
Yeah, but it's tiny accomplishment. It could be something like, I want to run 10K by the end of the month. Cool. And I'm going to build myself up to it. That 10K might not mean anything to nobody, but you accomplished that. So now no one could tell you can't run. What?
And there's also the foundation, isn't it? It's like the foundation of like, I can improve, I can be better. So it's like, can I take the same foundation and apply it to another thing?
Exactly. And bro, and I think that's the beautiful thing about just the experience of life. It is a case of taking one thing and applying it across board. Bro,
when I started kickboxing,
You kickbox, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, so I box still.
Yeah, no, I box as well. Muay Thai, I do Muay Thai and
is
boxing.
It? Yeah.
So when I started kickboxing, that's what I started with, and then later on I progressed into boxing as well. But so when I started kickboxing, I used to come to the gym, and the coach would be like, "Oh, do 10 press ups, innit?" And I used to cheat, innit? I used to do like 8 or 9 or whatever, like. And then over time, and this is why I feel like martial arts are so good for development.
Yeah, bro.
Over time, I was the guy that was doing 11 press ups when the coach was telling me to do 10, 11 or 12. And then what I realized is that I took the same concept, because I was doing that in real life. Like when I was cheating with the 9, you know what I'm saying? I was cheating in real life. Feel me? But I took the same concept of changing myself in the gym. And then I applied it to my real life. So whenever I was like, oh, you know what, I'm tired, or it's like you said, you came down here today. So that's my like 11th press up.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Bad boy. I love that. I love that. You know, it's true what you said though. I always say for martial arts puts you in a different psyche, bro. Especially for me, boxing is the one of the few things that keeps me solely present in my moment. When you're in a ring, you can't think about anything else, bro, other than your opponent in front of you. Because if you think about something else, he's slapping you. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna feel it.
It's almost like I look at boxing as meditation, you know?
Yeah, I fuck with that. I fuck with that heavy. Like it's a weird thing. People who don't fight don't understand how therapeutic it is to be in a fighting situation. And I always say to people, like, I'm not like the hardest guy, but I can have a lot of civilians on the street, and it's not because I'm the hardest guy. It's because I've been put in that situation week in, week out, where your adrenaline, your heart, your brain is being tested under immense stress. You're being banged in your face,
you're in your fight with yourself. That's the ultimate fight anyways.
That's what I'm saying. And when you can do that and still have a clear vision of what to do and what steps to make, you like what you said, you apply that to other things. So now when I'm in a stressful situation, it's almost like I'm in a ring sparring again. Okay, cool, just kind of jab, do your thing, you know what I'm saying?
Do you know what's lit? Do you know what else is lit about boxing, or any other martial art, is that I think that's the only, well, maybe not the only way, but that's the only way I know at the moment where people can learn complex problem solving. Because the thing about when we're fighting someone, they're not, because you know usually problem like stays the same, innit? It's it stays still. And
that's hard. I like that.
But I'm telling, listen, but see in a ring, in a ring, it's like the problem is always changing.
Of course.
So you have to constantly figure out, you know what I'm saying, like the next steps, and that's
while you're figuring out, they're figuring out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's why they say it's like a chess thing.
That's hard. Yeah. That's like, I've never heard it like that. But I'm definitely gonna finish that one. I'm not gonna lie. It's complex problem solving. It's on the spot as well. But it gives you a certain heart, man. Like, I always, even if people do it just for fitness and just for a state of mind, I do it because I've always loved fighting. But I also do it because there is a therapeutic lesson side to me. Like, I'm in the gym and I'm focused, bro. You can't get me out of there like that. Do you know what I'm saying? And especially when you're seeing the improvement in yourself, it does make you want to apply it to other things, man.
Like, I know when I go to, whether it's normal gym or I'm doing a boxing session or Muay Thai session, I already know that by the time I get there and by the time I leave, I'm already a better version of myself when I leave. Even if it's the small little building blocks, but over time it just adds up and it becomes this big thing. Yeah, I think it's you know what it is, yeah? It's that thing of like, you know, some people don't understand it. You said some people don't get it. They don't know what it's like. And I realized like this is one of my favorite ways of describing it. You know, earlier I asked you like, how was the ayahuasca thing? Yeah. But it's like, I realized like, you know, someone goes to Spain, yeah, and they come back and they go, how was Spain? And they can tell you as much as they want. Until they experience it, they'll never know, innit?
Yeah.
So I just wish more people like tried some kind of martial art or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because I know it would add value to their life. But
100%, especially men. And I shouldn't really say it like that. You can't really say like, oh, it's just men. But it's good for men to do that because men aren't the best at being vocal. And sometimes the best way to get something out is to punch somebody in the face in a legal way. In a way where it's not going to turn into a street fight. But man ain't going to pull out a borrow on you. You know what I'm saying? And it goes all mad that we're in a ring. We've got respect for each other. And I always respect the people that fight in the gym. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they teach me something about myself. Even something like I'll go through phases sometimes where I'll be sparring someone, and after the end of the sparring, whether I won or not, I'll say like, where were my openings? Where could you see me? Where was I easy to pick? And I'll say, oh bro, your hands were too low, or your body was too exposed, or da. And then it's like, okay, cool. And you just apply that. And I think you need the community sometimes to kind of teach you about yourself.
And there's the environment as well, right?
Yeah.
Most people, you know, like, I guess like everywhere else, like sometimes you'll get arseholes, innit? You know, you get certain type or whatever. But usually within that space of like martial arts or whatever, everyone's got like a common sort of language. Everyone understands struggle and what it means to be there and all of that stuff. And I think there's something about being in that environment where like there's like-minded people coming together, and there's also that part of community as well, which is really important.
It's dope. Yeah. Have you had fights?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Is it?
Basically, I'll show you some of the pictures
downstairs. Yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah.
I was meant to have a fight it's funny. I was meant to have a fight in November before I went away. But then the guy came down to the gym and sparred me and said he didn't want it.
Is that?
I was like,
that's wild.
It wasn't even him, it was one of his coaches saying, yeah, not him. I was like, brother.
Yeah.
So
I had a funny one as well. One day, basically there was a period where I was still training, but I wasn't competing. We had like a show down here. And it was like I think it was like a Muay Thai inner club sort of show. And basically I was just there supporting the thing, obviously because I work and all of that stuff. And there was this one guy that came in on that day, and he's like, oh, my opponent's a pussy, he pulled out, and he's talking. I said, bro, how much do you weigh? He's like 75, innit? And I was like, yeah. I said, I weigh the same thing, innit? So I used to live down the road as well at that point. And I was like, you know what, I'll go get my stuff and I'll fight, you know?
Bad boy.
Bro, listen, I got my stuff, I came back, my coach was like, nah, you're not fighting, because you know what I mean? It's like you've not really been training like that properly. So it's like, yeah. But even him, yeah, big up Daniel Sam, yeah.
Yeah, man said big up Daniel Sam.
Big up Daniel Sam. But basically, there was one time I was meant to be having a competition, yeah. And it's like, come in and weigh yourself, yeah. So I came in, I weighed myself. He goes, by the way, you're fighting twice. Yeah, 2 fights one day, yeah.
That must have been mad though.
Yeah,
you done it?
Yeah, I've done it, yeah.
What was that like? Did 2 fights in a night?
Do you know what? The second guy was like, the second guy was way easier than the first guy, yeah. The first guy, he kind of got stopped in it because it's, yeah.
But it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of mad because if I had 2 fights in the night, I'll probably take the first one a little bit lighter. Not lighter, but like,
the first one was the second one was the lighter. Like, Daniel was like he's a bit shit. So it's like, just play around with him sort of thing.
Yeah. That's mad still. I want to get into fighting. Like, I mean, into a fight. Like, I want to.
But I don't think I compete again though.
Right.
Do you know what it is, yeah? Like, see, when I spar, I feel like it's already got a competitive element anyways. Maybe a different level of competitiveness, but like sparring is already good enough for me. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm not really interested in that pathway anyways.
I don't know, it's funny you say that because I was like to say, I was sort of saying, my thing was, I just want to, if I was to get into a fight, like that, like an actual competitive fight, I don't want to get in the business of having to sell tickets and all that, bro. I just want to turn up. I would even pay. I just want to turn up, swing, go home.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? But it's for me. It's a me thing. And I think going back to what we were saying, it's proving, sometimes you need to prove things to yourself. One of the things I have is I always find people believe in me a lot more than I do. And I always have people say, oh bro, you should fight, like, you should get into a fight. And I don't feel like I'm ready to do it. But everyone else in the gym thinks I have.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is a case of just saying, you know what, like, why aren't I ready? When is ready? Now is now. Do you know what I'm saying?
Do you think there's like a level of projection though? Because like I feel like sometimes what people do is like, not to say that it's not that you're not ready, you probably are ready, but it's just like, you know, sometimes people projecting, they look at someone and go like, yeah, man, you should fight. It's like, you know, when it's there, but it's not your, you know what I'm saying? It's like people like, yeah, you're so good. Why didn't you just go pro? Like, but that's not what I want to do. That's their projection.
Someone has said that to me. It's like, why do you go pro? I'm like, bro, like, first of all, I don't have, that's just straight, I don't have the dedication to go pro. Like, yeah, I can't dedicate my life to this thing. I've got things I want to dedicate my life to. It's not this. At some point, or if I don't know, and I love fighting. In general, I just love fighting. But, yeah, I couldn't dedicate my life to it.
Yeah. Hey, bro, what's your, I don't even know how to ask this question. Like, what's your concept of time? Like, how do you perceive time?
Time is a measurement from A to B.
Yeah,
that's my thing. And we have to treat it like that. I think because when we talk about time, obviously we could speak about the universe and we could talk about our way in it as well, and you know. But time is just a measurement, and I think it's an important measurement. I don't think we should downplay it. A lot of people say time doesn't exist. It does exist. And I think if we act like time doesn't exist, it will start moving very fast for us. Do you know what I'm saying? And we know time exists because we get old. If time didn't exist, we'll be staying young. We'll stay fruitful our whole lives, bro.
That's a good point.
I'll get grey. I'm getting greys already. So I know time's going. My daughter's getting older. I can see time in a physical being. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's there, and I think we have to respect it as well. We have to respect the measurement. We have to respect the measurement the same way you respect the measurement. I don't know if you respect it. A builder has to respect the measurement of this room in order to know what to put in, to tell the interior designer.
Yeah.
The interior designer needs to know how much carpet to cut.
Yeah.
We have to respect these things.
How they measure the space.
Yeah, bro. That's how they measure.
The space here is measured by the walls. Like,
exactly, and this is time. The time is that wall to that wall to me. You know what I'm saying? Why'd you ask that though? That's an interesting question.
Do you know what it is? Because I've been playing around with that idea quite a bit recently, which is around like, it's not, I don't even know how to describe this because I can't articulate it. Yeah. It's more of a feeling. Yeah. So it's more of a feeling where I feel like time is not a real thing. So like and when you said like you can see people getting old, I was like, shit, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. So like that's kind of like throughout my whole like concept that I had.
Where were you before I said that?
Before you said that, I was just thinking there's something about like around existence, just existing. You know, like people talk about being in a now moment. I feel like it's become trendy to say that. People always like, yeah, be in a now, be in a present. It's a real thing. It's like that's how people should be, but it's become a trend now rather than the thing itself. So yeah, I just feel like there's something about existing. And then when it started saying like, you know, we get older, we can see that time is a real thing because we get older. I was thinking like, isn't life funny where there's like a life cycle. Because why do we get old? Like it's a weird concept to get old, or like for trees to get old and die, and just it's a weird concept. But then I realize it's a cycle. It's a cycle.
I would hate to not get old.
Yeah,
but I would hate to. I'm not in a rush to. Don't get me wrong, but I would hate to never get old. Just have not even necessarily just what I gain through age, but I want to come to a point where I look like I've done 50 years on this planet, bruv. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe not as in like my face looks old and dreary, but it's like, yo, this guy's not a young boy. You get treated differently. But two, you respond to things differently in that because your environment changes. And I think in order to respect time means you respect the process of life and you respect its unpredictability. Because I feel like if we stay in a moment where, I know this isn't what you're saying, but we say in a moment where we just want to stay in a certain time period, which is some people do. You're not appreciating what life can give you at any moment in time.
But it's impossible to stay in that given time period anyway.
For some people be Peter Panning. You know what I'm saying? Some people be on their Neverland stuff and they're just there, and it's like you have to actually take yourself out of a time and realize, yo, this is where I'm at right now. And I know people that respect it. I know people that don't respect it. You could also have people that don't respect time. They're always trying to claw back their youth. They're always trying to do things. It's like, and it's like, bro, this is where we are now. Love and appreciate this moment here. You Yeah, sticking your head in the past all the time.
And do you know what? There's so much more to see. It's like when I think about how much the world has changed in the last 20 years. Exactly. It's insane.
Exactly. You know, it's mad. I came up from Peru. I was talking about in the last 20 years, like the way that country and that region has changed over the last 100 years because of colonialism and stuff like that from the Spanish, and you know, and you can see how it's changed and how it's changed the people. And you think, wow, time is a powerful thing, man, because time is a powerful thing because it allows change, and change is probably the most powerful thing of human existence, bro. Things have to change in our lives. They have to. We hate change, but it has to happen.
And do you know what? And there's also something around like us being the change. You know, like people, you know, there's loads of people who sit and go like, oh, I hope my life is going to change. But I think us being the change, not just for ourselves, but just for our communities and other people. Because you know what fascinates me till this day, yeah, it's like, always play around with this idea, like whenever like humanity started, you know, I wasn't there, I don't know how it started, whether it's a religion thing, whether it's, you know, biological thing, I don't know. But when the whole like humanity started, if you think about it, people that were leaders all the way till now, they're the ones that shaped the world.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't think they necessarily shaped it in the best way, but imagine there could have been like thousands or 100,000 possibilities for us to become something different. And the world doesn't have to be what it is now.
It's mad because people might think, oh, they didn't shape it in the best way, but you know what? Another leader could have shaped it far more worse, brother.
Yeah, it could have been far more worse.
It could have been better.
Yeah.
Could have been worse, but we don't. Obviously, we will never know. That's an interesting point. Still,
I mean, I'm not a believer, so like, I'm not. Am I a pessimist, optimist? I'm none of those things, anyways. But
realist.
Yeah, I'm a realist, I guess. Yeah, but when I look at the world, and where we at now, I always think that some things that people demonize are not necessarily bad. Like, for example, like they'll talk about institutions that, you know, make a lot of money for selling cars or whatever it is. But it's like they work quite well. Like they provide a valuable service. It's like there's things that helps us function.
People need things.
Yeah, there's certain things that
I don't mind someone making $1 million off selling bread. Or selling grains.
Yeah, that's completely
we need
fine.
Grains, bro.
Yeah. You know I think, but you know what? I think there is. So the only issue I have in the world at the moment with any of these type of companies, there's a big gap between distribution of like, you know, whoever's making money. Like, I'm a believer. If I ran, let's say, like a retail company, for like a clothing retail company, you know how usually, let's say, like something like Next is structured in a way where the CEO will get the most money, then someone else will get money, and then basically all the way to the bottom when someone's working like minimum wage. Bro, the way I'd run it is everyone would split the money, regardless of what the role is. It's like, I guess,
is that fair though?
Huh?
Is that fair though? When you think about it, let's say I'm the owner of Next, I'm responsible for 100,000 people's jobs. If I don't do my job, they're gonna lose theirs in no time. Or even better, let's just say I founded Next, I made Next, and I provided 100,000 jobs. And me doing what I do and being innovative and creative is providing these opportunities. Should I get paid the same as the person that I've employed? I don't know.
You know what? All right, let me put a little twist to that since you brought that information forward. Yeah. All right. Cool. Maybe let's say that person gets paid more than others. Yeah. And then I don't know. Maybe there's like some kind of distribution between like the top team or whatever you want to call it. But basically, I was thinking about it like this, if people who are doing customer service roles were paid more, then that company would attract the best talent anyways for that. That means that company would become more efficient anyways. It would create, you know what I'm trying to say? It's all these ifs and buts, but
I hear that.
But it's an interesting way of looking at it.
But then I suppose that is true, but then I also think sometimes money isn't everyone's motivator. I think it's the key motivator. Obviously, if you have two jobs that you love, most of the time you're gonna go to what pays you the most. But if there's a job that pays you slightly less but gives you more of an opportunity to grow and prospects, and you know that there's more longevity in this job, but this job's gonna pay you more, but it's gonna be a quick check and no one's gonna give a shit about you.
Yeah,
it's a harder decision to make. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but I get it. I do get it. I think what the problem is the gap between the rich and the poor. The gap between the boss and the regular employee has widened way as widened so exponentially, it's beyond our comprehension now. Do you get what I'm saying?
Basically, I've got a solution, not towards that, but towards the government. I was playing around with this idea, Basically, I'd love to get the government officials, and sit them down in a room and get a bunch of kids and just punch them in the face. Bro, honestly, listen, I'd love to do that. You know why?
Government's holding bangs.
Bro, you know why? Because I think that's when they would understand, that kids are literally being punched in the face every single day, not just physically, but also metaphorically as well.
Do you think they'll understand that?
I think that's the thing. I think once they get punched in the face, I think they'll understand it a little bit better. You know what I'm trying to say? Because we were talking about there's a gap of experience in it. So I feel like the issue is there's a lack of perspective when it comes to government. Meaning like these guys don't understand where we come from and what experiences are.
I would love for my daughter to punch Boris Johnson in the face, bruv.
Oh, that'd be lit.
That would be my dream. I would pay whatever I need to pay if there was an opportunity for my daughter to punch Boris Johnson in the face.
But then listen, and then telling them after saying that this is what happens to kids every single day.
I still don't think certain politicians will get it though. I think sometimes, not all politicians, but I think people at power to a degree are so self-absorbed, and you have to be.
But that's what I'm saying, that we need to facilitate an experience for these people that will help them understand a little bit better. You know what I'm trying to say? So like, what's the best way of doing it? Just punch them in the face.
Punch people in the face. I'm all for it, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm all for a punch in the face anyway. So
man was getting punched in the face anyways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just also
line them politicians up.
Yeah.
Bring Donald Trump here right now.
Right now.
Lay him, bro.
Right now, fam.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on like the world? And do you feel like that's a stupid question. There are political games that are happening and stuff. But what do you think is the state of the world? Like, how do you perceive it?
I think we're going through a shift. I was having this conversation this week. Did you know, every couple generations, maybe it's every one generation. A generation is what? 60, 70 years, I think. Yeah. A shift happens.
Yeah.
And we're coming up to that time now, so that the last one would have been the Second World War. And after the Second World War, there was a shift. And I don't know whether it's a war or whether there's going to be something, but society's changing, man. People are changing. People are responding to things differently. I feel the powers are clamping harder on the people, and the people are rebelling a little bit harder.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we seem to forget that people can rebel. We get so caught up in power structures that we think, well, this is it. No one's going to do nothing. We don't have, like, in my example, we don't have the Martin Luther Kings anymore. We don't have the one man changing the world anymore. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't necessarily mean the ethos and the movements aren't still there. And I think they're going to be becoming more alive. I mean, people are going to definitely be more in their bag and more in their, I'm not having this. Like, I don't know if you've seen the China protests.
Yeah, I've been following a lot of what's happening in the world in total. No, not the news. I do my own research. But I look into factual things. I don't look into. Sometimes I might make my own theories about the facts that I'm taking in, but I tried to be as detached as possible from like people, like people who make videos like, oh my God, this thing's happening because Illuminati's and whatever. I don't do all of that stuff. I'm not the biggest conspiracy theorist, and my favorite conspiracy theory is that everything's going to be all right. That's
hard, Yeah.
Bro,
that I ain't gonna lie, that kind of touch, man, still.
But yeah, man.
That's dope. That's dope. I fuck with that heavy.
Yeah.
That's mad. It's mad what touches you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my favorite conspiracy theory, man. That's how I go about in life. But
I'm saying that because the reason I brought the China thing was because, again, not my words, but someone that I was speaking to was saying this is how revolution starts, and obviously it always starts with protests and people that. But in a place like China, there was a revolution that changes the world, because China is the exporter to the whole world.
Yeah.
It's one of, if not top three, one of the most important countries in this.
That China is doing that I don't fuck with, which is they're giving out a lot of loans to Africa for their infrastructure development. And a lot of these loans, they have like, they come basically, it's like, what's that term? Someone used this term. It's almost like like a financial way of, I don't know, like, would I say grooming someone?
Possibly. It's also having more political influence.
Yeah.
It's a big chessboard, you know what I'm saying? And the players are US, China, Russia maybe. But then you have like subsections in that. So you have like the Middle East, you have Europe, you have the Americas. You've got.
Oh, did they call it? There's this new thing I'm gonna look up for you, anyways, because Alali's not connected to a mic, unfortunately. We could have looked it up. It's called Brics countries.
Yeah,
it's like a new. Because when I heard it, I was like, "What the fuck is Brics countries?" And I was just, and that's the term that they use now.
They're like the solid ones, basically. The ones.
Oh yeah, so yeah, it literally stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
So they've created that because of obviously on the east west side.
So they got that because they're saying that these are the top 5 emerging world economies that are going to influence. Because basically they're saying like, oh, America's kind of like the dollar's like, you know, people are not looking at dollars as
they've been trying to get rid of the dollar for a long time.
Reserve currency, and people don't fuck with it anyways. And a lot of like loans that America gives out, it's like dollar based. So it's like I don't know.
And you got to remember, we've been living in an American empire for a long time, bruv.
Yeah,
and
I think people are tired of it, man.
People are tired of it, but then in the same, I was thinking to myself, people are tired of the American empire. I get it, we'll get it. But what empire would you prefer? Would you prefer the Chinese empire? For a Russian empire? I don't know.
But you know what? Yeah, see, America. Yeah, this is my perception, by the way. It's not a true thing, but I feel like America uses democracy as a weapon.
Of course it does.
Or they don't. I don't think they have democracy. They just say that they've got democracy to get to where they want to get to.
It's because they've changed. America's changed the way politics and global politics has been done. When you think about the British and the Spanish and the French and maybe parts of the Portuguese, it was colonialism. And the Soviet Union, it was colonialism. It was we own these countries, and that was their global stamp. Whereas America realized that other countries don't want to be owned. So what we'll say we're going to implement democracy in your country,
and that way they can buy countries over.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
which means your people can vote. Yeah. So we influence their vote. How about becoming part of NATO? How about becoming part of our clubs? Now all of a sudden we can put military bases in your countries now.
Speaking of NATO, and you know, like, this is why I don't fuck with news outlets and media outlets anyways, because they're fucking pushing an agenda and there's no facts behind and they just say, oh, Russia's like in Ukraine. Don't get me wrong, I don't agree with how Russia's dealing with the situation, but I don't know if they've got another choice anyways. But the thing is, like, so when the Soviet Union broke down, one of the agreements post-war was just like, basically, you know, Cold War, was just that they won't expand the NATO into any of those countries.
Don't come to my backyard.
No, but listen, and those countries, they said they won't like make members of NATO. Bro, they made them members of NATO, and now like Ukraine's like the last straw, basically.
I know. I mean, I know. I have limited knowledge on this. I know quite a bit, but I have limited knowledge on this compared to when you speak to people. Like, I was with someone that was from an ex-Soviet Union country, and he gave me like the lowdown. Ukraine is one of the most important countries in Europe, and people have never realized this. It's the food supply for Europe, and it's the country where most gas and energy goes through. They've got really important, that they're right next to the Black Sea, which is very important. And also it's the border between Russia and NATO. Yeah. So it's got so much importance that trying to, if you control Ukraine, you essentially control Europe.
Do you want to hear something funny about Ukraine? Yeah. Historically, they've always been in the middle of the war of West and East. And I'm talking like years ago. They used to be, I think they used to be called the Cossacks or something like that back in the day. Yeah. And basically, they used to be like mercenaries that would get hired by each side to fight the wars. Yeah. In like medieval ages and shit like that. So I'm like, historically, like, it's been going on.
There's a lot of stuff that we don't understand historically, because we get fed the Western perspective of the world. Especially because we get the winner side. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know, like, obviously a lot of people went to school here and you get told the British were the best army in the world, or not the best, but like, you know, we done this and we done that for the world, and it's like, you don't even realize what other people, it's almost like the rest of the world was non-existent? Like, what was everyone else doing when England was just out here, colonizing the whole world? And people, countries have real rich histories that we just didn't even get taught.
Yeah.
And I think if we did get, like, for example, like, we didn't really get taught about the Ottoman Empire, which is like one of the biggest empires to date. Do you get what I'm saying? It's an interesting concept. I've always been interested in global politics, so I always relate it back to life. I always sometimes relate it back to the streets as well. Global politics is not much different to the world.
It's the same.
You know what I'm saying? Even when people talk about the nuclear argument, and it's like, oh well, if he's got a nuclear, then I need a nuclear. And it's like, cool. That's the same attitude that someone walks around with a Boro or a mash has. If he's got a mash, I need a mash.
Yeah, that's it's true.
It's the same thing, brother.
True.
You know what I'm saying? If that hood is getting too big and they're expanding too much, that other hood's hating, they're gonna run up on them. That's how it goes.
You know what I'm saying? If they're gonna come to my ends, I'm gonna go to them.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's the basics of human beings.
It's like the foundation's there, and it's like even like, bro, a drug dealer's running a business technically.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? It's just all their sales and market, everything's there, bro. And all these and sometimes when I have a conversation with like young people at work with, sometimes I'm like, yo, there's like transferable skills, like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's just like, what is it that we're applying it to? And like people talk about intelligence and they say, oh, like, I didn't go to uni or whatever, and they think they're not intelligent. Intelligence got nothing to do with that. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just, I feel like people are just caught up with too much of that thing of, whatever's being pushed out, and just, they take it.
I'll tell you what uni is good for, and again, I'm someone that didn't finish it, but I experienced it for a while.
I didn't finish. It's interesting you said I didn't finish it either. I went to uni as well.
But hold on. You know what's interesting about uni, and this is something that people should try adopt in their normal life, whether you go uni or not. Uni forces you to question your own position, and you're never at a point in academia where you have to question your own position. Usually it's, you get told, this is the point, this is what you read, this is what you study. Uni says, go find your study, write down your study, question your study, counter your study, say why your study might be wrong, and then say why it's actually right. And that, again, it's the crossover, it's the things that you apply in life. That gives you a different perspective on things. Like, you're like, wow, so how comes it is that? I think that's something that further education teaches you. But that's something that we should be teaching people regardless anyway, whether they have the chance to, because we're going to be in a generation now where further education is not going to be accessible to everybody. It's too expensive, and it's not worth the money anymore.
Fam, a 16-year-old can learn more than someone's learning at uni.
Of course.
Just because of the internet. It's just
on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Bro, I fixed I had an issue with my fuel pump like earlier this year. Bro, I went on YouTube, done my research, done everything, bro, fixed it myself. But
YouTube is one of the key things it's actually funny, it's the top, I think that people go on YouTube for mechanical problems is at the top 5 or top 10,
Bro, it's like, listen, till this day, I'm pissed off, because there's certain problems sometimes that I've had with my car, that some of those videos are not on YouTube. I'm like, someone needs to fucking make this ASAP. You know what I'm trying to say? I was even talking to my garage guy, and it's like, bro, it's like, YouTube's gonna put me out of business.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It's just,
you still need the expertise of a mechanics, and you also need that insurance of it. But if you fuck this up, then you're paying for it. But more time, mechanics are shady, bro. I took my car to mechanics to get my brakes fixed. Since then, my brakes been squeaking, and my brake wasn't squeaking before. Now my brake's squeaking. Now he's telling me, oh, but it's this and that, and now you have to pay an extra couple $100. It's like, brother, I just gave you 5 bills, and I told him I got to pay another 3-4 bills to you to fix his brake squeaking thing. When to me, I'm looking at it like, you're meant to fix the brakes. That's part of it, no? You don't know, you're getting ripped off when you just go on YouTube, they say, yo, this, that, and the third, boom, boom, boom. You got your solutions.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous thing though, because knowledge is good, but sometimes people think they know too much, and I think that's a dangerous thing to.
Yeah, that is.
That's a dangerous position to be in when you think you know too much and you're not willing to learn anything anymore. I always try to be inquisitive about things. Like, I'm always learning about shit. I had a shoot today, bro. Like, I feel like I've been shooting for years. I know about filmmaking. I know this, that, and the third. I still had to hire a gaffer to do my lights, even though I know how to do lighting. I had to hire the gaffer to do my lights. My man was still showing me, brother. After a while, I was like, you know what? Obviously, I mean, I'm always humble when it comes to sets anyway. Most of the time, I am. Most of the time. Some I have to be honest. Sometimes I'm not. But you know when a man's really giving you knowledge in a field that you're knowledgeable in, it's a different type of thing. It's a different type of conversation then, because you're like, right, okay. All of a sudden, they're making your thing look better anyway. Yeah. But at the same speed, it's like, right, I didn't. Not like I didn't know that, but you're making me understand something a lot deeper than I ever did.
But that's the thing. But if you were with the mindset of like, I know everything, then you would have been fucked in that situation. You would have never learned anything. Yeah. I worked with someone once. I was working on this, like, I was trying to do this like training, like kind of product. Yeah, basically it's like training corporates and whatever. And this guy came with this thing of like, I know what we're doing, and I've been doing this for years. I was basically like, you know what, I didn't want to work with you because number one, I'm trying to do something different to what he was been doing for years. And you know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to do some kind of revolution with this training program, and this guy's just like, I'm meant to do it like this because that's how they want it. You know what I realized about this? Is what I realized about vision in general in life, yeah. And you might fuck with this as well, yeah. Is that I used to have times where I used to have a vision, but used to let people like. Shoot. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Until I realized, you know what? Even if people can't see it, I'm still gonna go with it because they'll see it later.
And you know, bro, it's that exact thing what I was saying earlier in the conversation where I was like, brother, sometimes you need these little accomplishments, these small wins, these big wins, these things where you set it up yourself and you've done it, to turn around and say, you know what? I can do more. I can do more for myself. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's how I think. Obviously, ambition is natural, but I think ambition could be nurtured as well. You could plant. Ambition is a seed, brother. And as soon as someone gets that first win, success is the most powerful drug in the world, bro. Because as soon as you get it once, you feel cold without it. I need something big. You get what I'm saying? And some people can't handle that coldness, so they look for other things to sort of fill that void. When in fact, it's like, nah, bro, you just need to go hard and make something that makes you feel proud. It doesn't even have to be successful to everyone else. It needs to make you feel proud. Yeah. Self-accomplishment is one of the biggest, most important things to a human being, and I think we downplay that. And I think that's, if there's something I would love to teach children in general, it's understanding self-accomplishment. It's understanding that you can do something, bro. You know what I'm saying? There's people that's gone their whole lives, big adults, never really achieved anything. And you could tell because their mindset is so, maybe it won't work out, let's not try it. It's negative. To someone that achieves a lot of shit, you hear when someone doesn't achieve a lot of shit because their mindset is so negative. You know what I'm saying? It's so picky. It's so, and usually that's critical.
Not even their own voices. Like, that's voices they got from other people.
Exactly, and they listen to it. I've definitely been on sets sometimes, and I always relate it back to video because I've definitely been on sets where I've had an idea and I'm like, we should do this, we should do that. And someone's like, oh no, we should do that. And you let that voice overrun a little bit, and then you get back home to the edit and you're like, I was right, you know, I should have done that. And that's the worst feeling in the world because you can't do nothing about it.
You know what? And even if you wasn't right, at least you still own your mistake. You know what I'm saying? That's how we learn, isn't it? You do things differently next time.
That's like for me on sets, I'll shoot, if there's an idea that I'm not sure of, I'll shoot it twice. I'll shoot it my way, I'll shoot it that way. And at least then I could A and B and be like, you know what, if I got it right, then cool. If I didn't get it right, it looks better anyway, and I've learned something. But you have to allow that. So feedback is important. There's a book I read called Mastery. And it kind of says something about that, where like feedback is important, but don't listen to feedback too much. Don't listen to advice too much. Don't take too much advice. Don't take too much counselling. Not counselling as in healing, but like counsel. You know, don't rely on your peers too much to tell you stuff. Sometimes you need to listen to that inner voice and go with that.
It's kind of like it's basically internal versus external.
Of course, because that's where you grow trust and confidence in yourself, and that's where you end up becoming a master at something. That's when you start getting into a form of mastery. And I like thinking that I'm trying to enter this stage of mastery right now in my life. Where I'm not trying to just be good at things. I'm trying to be the best at things. You know. That went somewhere else. So.
No, it's calm, bro. It's calm, but and the thing we're talking about internal versus external as well. Yeah, it's like I've said this a few times before. I think for me, when it comes to validation, like I give myself validation. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't rely on external validation because like it doesn't last. It's like it comes and goes sort of thing. So I'm not dependent. It's nice. Like when it comes, it's nice. It's like I recognize it. Like, cool, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. But I don't sit on it for too long. I just kind of move on sort of thing.
And you have to. It's kind of difficult giving yourself validation, but then You have to kind of think, where does your self-validation come from? Does it come from other people? Or does it come from things you can actually see? I perform a lot. So my validation comes from me being on stage and seeing the reaction from people. And yeah, that's still coming from people. But in the same respect, I've given myself so much validation that even if I went on stage and didn't get no response from someone, that doesn't then downplay the work that I know is good, because I've seen how it's impacted so many other people. So in some aspects, you need people for the validation, but it's almost like a cycle. You need to feel confident in yourself and validate yourself to then show it to other people. They then give you that validation back, and then it gives you more confidence to then just keep doing that and keep doing that. So now it can exist in it by itself in its own entirety without it relying on other things and other energy.
Do you know what? I have this I have a slightly different approach. I love people that go, this is shit. Like that's my favorite type of validation. People go like, this is shit. I'm like, I'm gonna do more of that. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm that kind of person. Like, I went for a funding bid. I think, actually, you know what? I went for a funding bid to start a podcast, like this podcast. This was like, must have been like 2 years ago, And basically, they didn't give it, and I was like, I love it. I'll go for, you know what I'm trying to say? I love that shit. It's like when people go like, this is not good enough, he ain't gonna give you the money. It's just like, it's cool. Like, I'm gonna go and do it anyways. Or like, I'm still gonna put in another funding bid for something else.
Do it. Because I had, and this is I don't tell this story enough, as I should. When I first got into filmmaking, because this wasn't the thing I wanted to do, I just think creatively, I kind of just fell down this road. And I realized like hiring equipment and hiring people was just getting mad expensive. I didn't have a lot of money. So I was like, I need to learn how to do this shit myself. So again, trying to get equipment, I went through a round of funding and I had a business plan with like the creative agency and I want this, I want to do that. Didn't get the funding, got rejected. They were like, you need to work on this plan. And there was something inside me that said, yeah, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to get this money, bro. I'm going to get this money. If there's no way, I cannot get this money. So I worked on the plan, worked on it. I hit them back in another 6 months and I got the peas, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like and that was one of the first big self-wins for me because it was a case of, one, I didn't just accept a no. And I need to remind myself of that as I'm speaking right now. I need to remind myself of that story. I didn't just accept the no, first of all. But second of all, it was the biggest, that fuck you turned into a thank you. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it was like, yo, love for that, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Love. Of course, it made me pattern up my thing and put my thing more in a better perspective, of course. But in the same speed, it was like, brother, and that was an energy boost for me to say, who are you to tell me I can't do that? And that was my first feeling of, you can't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of arrogance you need to have with you when you're trying to do something great that says, you know, I'm the best at what I do. And I'm the best. And people that are better than me, obviously there's people that are better than me, but what I do in my field, I have to feel like I'm the best, bro. I have to feel like I'm the best to get this job done right now. Otherwise, what's the point of me being there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's what I'm on, man. It's like, I find it really funny when people go like, oh, like, what's your podcast about? Like, is it like, you know, like, because people usually have like a niche, or like the podcast is about like, I got nothing against that, where they go like, oh, it's about, this podcast is about leadership. Where we sit down and discuss leaders, like, bro, this podcast is about anything. You know what I'm trying to say? There's no niche. So when people go like, what's the niche? Like, or you should be doing things in a certain way. You should be telling people, listen, people that want to listen, you said it before, people that want to be here and listen to this, they'll be here and listen to it. You know what I'm trying to say? People that don't, they won't. It's not for them. I'm not trying to fit in. I'm trying to attract people that are on the same
wavelength.
Yeah, man.
Of course.
There's all that fitting in thing, because we could have done this different. We could have structured like, oh, would you like to introduce yourself? Welcome back to episode, whatever, all of that stuff. It's not us, you know what I'm saying?
And bro, you try to do it a certain way, try to do it in a structured way and it doesn't work out, and you think, wow, what is it me? Then you think, no, this isn't what I wanted to do anyway.
But I want to be true to myself as well.
Exactly.
And I'm saying, and true to people. Like, I don't want to like pretend to be something else and then people think I'm that person when I'm not. Like, I'll give them 100% of who I am. You know what I'm trying to say? It's funny, I was talking to someone today and we had a good conversation, and I was telling her like, I said, listen, I'm the type of person that will give my worst on a first date. Yeah. I'm the type of person that will give my worst. Because afterwards, it's only going to get better, you know? You know what I'm trying to say? Because you know when people like give the whole like the best image and all of that stuff, and then
You know what's funny? I had someone say something to me that was quite revealing to me as well, yeah. Sorry, I'll do that again.
That is calm.
I had someone say something to me. It's cool. I had
Yeah.
someone say something to me that was quite revealing, yeah. Because on a date, I would always start with my negative points. Like, yeah, I'm cool, but, you know, sometimes I'm this, sometimes I be like that, blah, 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 blah. And I thought that was just me being honest and transparent and open. And of course it is to some degree. When someone says, well, why do you always start off with your negative points? That's who you were, or that's who you are in certain environments and situations. But how do you know that's who you are across the board? You're now giving people this negative perception of you that might be unfair to yourself because you're not telling people you're not showing them about the great qualities you have. And they might bring out the better things in you. They might not even bring out those negative qualities in you. Or they might be able to manage it. Like, that's completely irrelevant. Stop seeing yourself like that. And I was just like, that is a very good point. Maybe it's a bit of a self-sabotage thing, but that's a very good point. Another thing, and it's a recent thing, like, and it's only someone said it to me, a few people said it to me. Like, but when I say few, I literally mean like 2 or 3 people, but people in good positions said to me, like, stop apologizing. Like, you were going, oh yeah, sorry. I'm just like, why are you apologizing? No, obviously, if you're genuinely in the wrong for something and you say, yo, bro, I'm sorry for that, then cool. But I don't apologize for like just bullshit stuff. Like,
or just like for being, or like, you know,
being,
like,
oh yeah, sorry. Can I interrupt? Like, why are you apologizing? Just say you're gonna interrupt. Don't stop saying sorry.
Listen, that happened to me today. I was coming out the lift and the lift just opened, and obviously there's a woman trying to get in, and I'm leaving. I'm like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, why am I saying sorry? I didn't even do that if I'm coming out the lift.
Yeah.
What am I saying sorry for?
It's a British thing because we seem to think it's a way of just being polite and being nice, but in a way, it's a way of putting yourself on the back burner, and sometimes you shouldn't do that. And
so sorry to jump in. Do you know what? There's another thing I stopped doing as well. Yeah, it's the like, do you get what I mean? Thing.
Yeah.
Or do you understand?
Yeah,
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or does it make sense? Does it make? That's the worst one. Does it make sense? Because it's like, it's almost like someone saying something and go, does it make sense? And they're not being confident about what they said.
You need that validation thing from someone else to say, yeah, it does make sense.
Like, so I start thinking like, right, like, what am I saying? Like, things I'm saying, is it even? Am I even believing it myself? If I go, does it make sense?
Yeah.
I was like, shit.
That's a good point as well. Because that's something I've probably not noticed that I do. I might do. So like, do you get what I'm saying though? So do you mean like? Yes, unless I'm talking crap, then you will get what I'm saying. If they don't get what I'm saying, then that's fine.
And also, I'd want people to have the relationship with me. They go, no, I don't get what you're saying. And if they can't do that with me, then I don't want to have a relationship with those people. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like, bro, it's like I've got something on my face, and if they're sitting there the whole day and not telling me I've got something on my face, then that's wild. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, life is beautiful, man.
You gotta appreciate it, man. That's what I'm saying. You gotta appreciate it, and you gotta. What was it? There was a quote that was so powerful, and I'm so pissed that I don't remember it completely. But it was something like to say, to wish everything was good all the time means you don't appreciate life, because life, the whole purpose of life is to be good and bad.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's to be happy and sad. It's to be sunny and rain. And to just want one thing all of the time means you're not actually appreciating the whole experience. And I'm all part of us appreciating the experience of life, as well as getting in touch with nature a little bit more. Yeah,
and each one of those things, they give meaning.
Of course,
each one of them.
It's
like life doesn't exist without death. Like, death doesn't exist without, you know what I'm saying? It's just it goes hand in hand.
Although death is a weird concept to a lot of people. I think even to me, it's a weird concept. It's the final. We hate things ending. We hate the things just saying, yeah, we're done. We hate.
Do you know what? Yeah, it's a long conversation, like, to even get into it. Maybe we'll do another part 2 and we'll talk about it.
Part 2.
But even for me, like, I've changed my relationship with death completely.
Is it?
Like, I see it very differently now. And sometimes, like, people look at me like, oh, it's like, they kind of see me like as this like cold-hearted person, like if I'm not responding in a certain way. But I've just come to accept it, and I just come to see it as like and I say this a lot of the times, like, I'm playing around with this idea that I'm already dead. I'm just remembering how I got there. Like, and it's
that's kind of mad, you know.
And it's bro,
it's kind of mad,
bro.
Yo,
Yo, and you know what it is, yeah, and it's like
oh shit!
Like not many people would get it as well. You know what I'm trying to say? You might get it.
Away.
You might, yeah, you get it. You might get it, but some people won't. It's like it sounds like an alien language to them, and it's just. But it's kind of it's giving me a whole different way of experiencing life. You know what I'm trying to say? And it's like, and then my question is always like, what else do you want to remember?
Bro, I've not got. That's something I'm gonna think about for the rest of the evening and probably for the rest of the weekend. You know. I've already died. I'm just remembering how.
I'm already dead. Like I know it sounds weird. Like I'm already.
Oh, not already dead. You're dying.
Well, dying, no, but I'm already dead. It's like, okay, cool. What's like? Think about it this way. We're having a conversation now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say like, just imagine you're on your last like, let's say like 3 seconds of life now. Yeah. For you to get from here to there is gonna be in an instant. I know it sounds a bit like
but I'm with you.
But you know what I'm saying? Because by the time you're there, you might even remember this conversation. You might be like, raw, like we was talking about this, like, you know, like when you go, I've done that thing like 10 years ago, but it feels like yesterday. That's because there is no.
And this was the lead up to it. This is the lead up to the big moment.
Yeah, it's just
finishes.
Yeah, it's this, bro. It's like it's till this day. Like I've been thinking like that for the last year, and it's fucking insane, bro. Like I'm still not comprehending it fully, but
I like that though.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It's and yeah, it's giving me like a different appreciation of enjoying the process of getting there.
Yeah.
Enjoying the process of getting there. And that's what I was gonna say earlier, I forgot to say it, but I think for me the combination of living a meaningful life is a combination of enjoying the process and having purpose. It's like if I get those two correct, it's like everything else is like, bro, like I don't care about the outcome of this podcast. Like whatever happens after, that's all good. It's a bonus. You know, we release it, people watching. This conversation here is
it's there. It's out in the universe.
That's the more precious than anything else.
There's something that you said that kind of inspired me on this one thing. I remember there's 3 things that people need in life: something to do, something to look forward to, and someone to share it with. And I think once you have those things in any capacity, you're good, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's like Jay-Z said, that if he had all the money in the world tomorrow, but there was no people that existed and he's the only person, like, what does that mean? It's like he's got no one to share it with. You know? It's kind of like that shit put it in context for me, like how important people are.
Yeah,
overall.
And experiences in general.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, man. All right, listen. I'm gonna ask you. We good for time, yeah? All right, cool. It's the last question anyway. We're gonna start checking out. But before I ask you that question, is there anything you want to promote?
Anything I want to promote?
Yeah.
Alright.
So our community, a small little nice community.
Yeah, this thing I shot today, I suppose, that's coming out soon. That'll be coming out next week. It's like a little Christmas video that I've done, which is dope. EP's coming out in the next year, like in the new year. I'm hoping sometime soon, like January, February times. And just more content, bro. Let me just push what I've been doing. I'm out here getting it. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm grinding too much, and I'm just Louis the Hippie, man. That's what I'm promoting right now. Do you know what I'm saying?
I hope that people go check out your Instagram as well and the content you've got there so far, because and like I hope that they do that for them because I know if they go there and watch some of your videos, they'll get something from it. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm telling them to do it just so they can, you know what I'm saying, get something from it as well.
I appreciate that, man. And you know, I appreciate the time as well. I appreciate the conversation. It's been fulfilling for me. It's been nurturing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
likewise, man. It's just
you said some things I'm definitely gonna take away.
Yeah.
Especially the dead thing. I'm dead already. I'm just remembering how I got there. That's powerful, bro.
Yeah. Come on. But yeah, man. So make sure you check out with the question of when you get a chance to say something to 8 billion people, what would you tell them?
Remember, you're one of 8 billion. That would just be it.
Yeah. Like that,
however you take that is how you take that, but you're one of 8 billion. Whether that means you're rare, or whether that means you're not as important as you think you are, which is also quite liberating. You're 1 in 8 billion.
Yeah. And it's the smaller that bigger things don't exist without the smaller one.
Exactly. There you go.
So the
Cog in a small world, but you're still a cog.
Yeah, definitely. Well, man, I appreciate you being there.
Thank you, man. It's been love, bro. It's been dope.